when people come to my classes, I have to kind of surprise them with an idea of dance because they don't know, especially recently, they don't know that they're going to dance. Because if they would know, they probably wouldn't show up, which is crazy. How we're so in our heads about movement and how to own a voice.
The Big Silence. The Big Silence.
Hello, and welcome back to the Big Silence podcast. It's your guest and friend, Karena Dawn here. Thank you for joining me this holiday season. I am so grateful you're here and hoping you're having the best time, even though I know in the holidays it can be a bit hectic, but we're here for you. And always know that if you ever feel like you need to talk to someone in the holiday season, you can text HELLO to 741-741. And of course, thank you for all of your support this year for making the Big Silence Pod one of the top mental health and self-development podcasts. Thank you for all of your support and continued support. Please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an ep. Share this with any of your friends, loved ones that might find it beneficial. And I'm so grateful, but I just want you to know that considering donating even $1 if you enjoy this podcast goes a long way. Through our Therapy for All program at thebigsilence.com, $100 provides someone who doesn't have access to therapy a therapy session. All right, let's move on to today's guest, Anya Garnis. So I met Anya through a friend, and I wanted to have a girls' night at my house where we learned how to dance and did a little like salsa. So Anya came over. She was just a shining, bright light. Loved connecting with her. And after that, we talked on the phone for over an hour and got to know each other a bit. And I asked her to be on the podcast. She's been dancing and acting for the past 2 decades. She shares her story on the pod, so I won't go into too much here. But she was born in Eastern Europe and moved to Russia. And she started training at 13 years old. And she's been on some of the biggest shows like So You Think You Can Dance and Dancing with the Stars, Strictly Come Dancing, and so many more things. And she has gone through health issues, mental health issues, and all of the things. And she has such a charisma to her and a vitality and an overcoming. And she has a lot of takeaways during this episode. So enjoy it. Oh, and by the way, after we filmed this episode, we went in my house and Bobby joined in for a little dance party. We did a session where Anya taught Bobby and I a dance to The Big Silence theme song. So go over to at the.big.silence on Instagram and our YouTube. Oh yes, we have a YouTube, by the way, link in show notes where you can watch all of these episodes on video. But go there because you will see the dance and we want you to learn the dance too and share it with us. We might have a little dance competition coming up. All right, enjoy this episode and I love you. All right, welcome to the Big Silence podcast, Anya Garnis.
Thank you. Feel very welcome.
Of course. You may have seen Anya on So You Think You Can Dance and Dancing with the Stars Live. You're a professional dancer and you're also the founder of Body Instinct, which we will get into that as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, so I met Anya a couple months ago. Has it been that long?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So my girlfriends and I were like, let's have a girls' night and learn how to dance. And of course, Sandy, my trainer, she's all about.
We know Sandy.
We know Sandy. She's all about the booty gains and opening up those hips. And so another friend of mine told me about you. And we had a great night that night and got to know each other a little and then caught up afterwards. And I really was touched by your story and thought it would be amazing to have you on here.
Thank you. Well, yes, Sandy I remember she couldn't let it go. She was like, I have to. How do you release the glutes? How do you build this? How do you this? No, it was amazing. It was amazing. There's so many questions coming up.
Yeah.
But yes, so thank you for having me in the studio. It's so nice to do this in person.
I know, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just, we all zoomed out, right?
Oh, I know. For 2024, my goal is to have most podcasts live if I can do it. So
right.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a good goal. It's a good goal. Well, so yes, I'm a professional dancer and I try to It's where do I start? So I consider myself to be a child of the world. So I always say that because I was born in Eastern Europe, but I grew up in Siberia.
Oh, wow.
And then I left home when I was 13.
No parent, like
No
left your
parents.
parents.
Yeah, my mom sent me to dance school because I was so passionate about dance, and I've been dancing since I was 8.
Just
and
like in your living room, making up your own moves or in dance classes?
Oh no! So proper dance schools, teachers, and ballet, all the classes, and then the only boy that a very good dance partner that danced with me, basically decided to split up with me, and then was literally no one else out there. So I was in Siberia, very, very small town, and so my mom reached out to another dance studio, which was 8 hours more east, more cold, even colder weather. And so she sent me away when I was 12, turning 13.
How did you feel about that?
Looking back at it, I was ecstatic in the sense of I didn't see anything else. I feel like I was a little bit odd as a child, though, because I always said to my parents I was born in the wrong country. So first of all, second of all, I always said to them I'll be a professional dancer. So I had the goals. Even, later on I went to law school, and I remember all of my friends, they obviously would study law, and then they said, so what kind of law are you going to do? And I said, I'm never going to do law. It's just I'm interested in psychology and, just taking the classes for fun, but I'm actually going to be a dancer and the producer and all of that. And long story short, basically when I left at 13, I didn't know what I'm getting myself into, but it was a very tough environment when you look back and when when you read about the proper Russian tough school. That's what I've endured.
Because I think of when I was 12 is when my mom started leaving the house, and I was craving for a mother. But you were like, it was your same age, but you're just so excited because you get to. But I guess this was a choice that you made versus a choice that I wasn't making.
Yeah, it was a choice because there was literally no opportunities in that small town where I was living. And I think my mom took a chance. It was a very tough year. It's like my grandpa was in a coma. My dad was away. My grandma on my father's side passed away. And I remember my dad was with her. So my mom just packed my bags, didn't tell anybody, and just sent me away. So basically, it was, because I was on my knees and I said, I need to go.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was obviously something bigger than me.
So when you get to the dance school, and did somebody take care of you, or are you just like...
Yeah, so it was kind of, it was a community. So we all were the same age or similar age. So girls lived separately from the boys. And so it was kind of like a boarding school, I guess, but only for certain people, certain kids that were chosen to be in that dance school. And we lived with the woman who was running the studio, and she was
strict.
She was very strict.
She was very Russian.
Very Russian, very creative, and very never danced in her life, but had the biggest passion for it, and fooled everybody, because it's crazy how she had this huge following.
Yeah.
And the woman has never danced in her entire life.
Yeah.
Yet she brought up some champions, and the resilience in us and technique, and we all trusted her.
Yeah. So how many people were in that school? How many kids?
It was about six or seven girls my age, and then there were about 3 that were about 4 or 5 years older. Okay. And so the same thing. We all had partners, so the same thing for the boys. Yeah.
Wow. So you just dance and education and everything and strict schedules and wow. Okay. So you're there for how many years?
Until I'm 17.
And then you go to college.
And then my mom came in and looked at the conditions and everything, how we lived, and looked at my personality, how it changed, because I left a little girl, and I remember even like I was always a tomboy, and even that the friends that I made was guys, and we were always the closest to me, I guess. And all of a sudden, I left for the summer, and then I turned 13, and I came back looking like this.
Wait, did you not go home or see your family that
So
whole
for the
time?
summer, I would go.
Okay.
I would go home and
Yeah.
spend time with my grandma or my mom, and
Yeah.
then I came back and looking like from a little girl to looking like a young woman.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, my friends, guy friends, all of a sudden looking at
like,
me differently,
"Oh,
and so
hey,
making
Anya."
fun of me, and then
Aw.
just so voluptuous and whatever else. And basically, that's where the whole scenario began when the coach was starting making remarks and saying things like, "Oh, she looks great in person, but she looks bad on the dance floor," or something like that. And
Wait, your coach did?
yeah. So it's like you were standing there because she decided on everything, your hair, your makeup, your costumes, and you just stand there like a mannequin, basically. And she goes to the seamstress. She would be saying, "Oh, it's okay, don't do this line because, it does look great in person when we're standing right here, but on the dance floor, she's going to look fat. And she's going to..."
That interesting. So you've seen my dance skills. They're small, but if not none. But
No,
I love that. But it's fun. And I remember I did take ballet when I was a little girl. And the ballet teacher actually said I needed to lose weight. And I was a little twiggy,
Yeah, of
and
course.
it's like
You're a
dance and
baby, yeah.
ballet. And you never even, it doesn't cross your mind until somebody says that to you. And then you start thinking about it. So did that affect your mental health when you thought about your body?
Oh my gosh, it affected everything to a point that, that was just the first remark that after I started doing work, after I faced a huge physical and mental health challenge, which I'm sure we're going to get to.
Yes.
That was kind of what came up. That a lot of comments about my body that I allowed those people to make an opinion, and I believed them because I didn't have, even though I have one of the closest relationship with my mom, she wasn't there. There was no cell phones.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, yes, that's true. I do look fat. I am 34C and I'm only 14. And, a lot of the girls weren't that voluptuous, I guess.
Yeah.
And so it was very hard, and it was progressively getting worse because, she was very pro-male. And so men was an alpha. And so girls endured a lot of physical abuse at rehearsals only. It didn't cross in normal life. So I always separated the two. I always had my dance life, and then I had my real life. So in real life, we were all friends. But then the minute we cross, that line and go on the dance floor, there's something happens. It's almost like they were brainwashed by her, and there was a lot of abuse and there's a lot of hitting and, straighten your arm and just hitting, your arms and like punish you and just go like do 100 pirouettes in one corner, and you just stand there until you vomit or something.
Oh my goodness.
So it was, but I'm very good at turns now. So.
You are. So let's go back. You mentioned your first battle with mental health. Take us there.
Well, I think it was it's obviously there are steps and that takes it there. But the thing is, I think I've identified myself with being a performer, being a dancer, being an artist for so long that I forgot to figure it out who I am
outside of
without that. Because when you are your own product, for the lack of a better word, you sell your services, you perform, you give, you create, whatever comes through you, you always on a display, so to speak. And I've been so fortunate to follow my instinct, to follow my intuition. That's how I went from being the runner-up in United States finalist to audition for So You Think You Can Dance, and that changed my life. And then when I did that on television, I think overnight it changed when one of the biggest judges on television show, I think Nigel Lithgow, so he's well known from American Idol and So You Think You Can Dance. I remember him saying out loud, saying, "Oh, look at her, she's so sexy." And it's almost like people didn't see me before. And then when all the students came the next day after that audition aired, and I was put in that box
of the sexy one. Or just
of the sexy one, whatever that meant.
Yeah.
And I needed to keep up with that because I just thought, what in my internally, I was like, what does it mean?
Yeah.
But externally, I try to match to whatever people think sexy is, whether it's movement, whether it's how you dress, whether how you show up. And for a long time, I tried to run with that energy. And even though show changed my life, and I probably wouldn't change a thing, with Nigel, what Nigel said, I just think it really put a lot of pressure on me psychologically. And the artist way is not a very easy one. So we had up and downs, but we just talking about after a long journey and after making it, and after going nonstop, I've achieved my biggest dream when I was invited to do Dancing with the Stars in London, which is called Strictly Come Dancing, the original program. And I just was like, this is it. And I had the best time of my life. I think looking back, I'm so proud of my choreography and what came through me. And then the following year, they called me and they said, so we don't know how to say this, but we basically made a mistake, but you were amazing in the show. But the mistake has been happened because you live in the States, and with the time difference, somebody who was supposed to say no to the show, they said yes, but because it's BBC, we can't really fire them. So let us figure it out. We're going to get back to you a week later. So at first I thought somebody's making a joke because I literally gave up my apartment in LA. I was moving to London. Everything was like, I was the last girl standing in the semifinal.
Yeah.
So it was a huge achievement at like 11 million people watching you. So it's kind of a big deal in my world for my career because I am, as we know, associated myself, I am a dancer and performer. That's what I do. And a week later, they called me and were like, Anya, we're so sorry. We just don't know what to do. So this happened and we can't go back. But we loved your choreography so much. And we really want you to come in and just work with the producers and be the right hand of the creative director. So I think my spirit broke at, my soul wasn't ready. My artist inside of me just wasn't ready to step behind. It's not even about the camera. It's about the creativity.
Before we move forward too, talking about being on display and when you talk about that, and I can relate to that too, because I am the face of Tone It Up for 15 years. Before Tone It Up,
Exactly.
I was on magazine covers as a triathlete, a trainer, but all on campaigns and this, and like you are your brand.
You are what you're selling.
Yeah. And then there's, you get put into this box of you need to be this way and you cannot change. Well, for me, like, oh my God, Karina's changed. I'm like, it's been 15 years.
Yes.
I sure hope so.
I think you should too.
But yeah, no, I get that when you are your brand.
Yeah.
And the pressure that goes with that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so basically when that happened with that phone call, I already gave up my apartment in LA and I just made the decision to go anyways, because I just thought, well, maybe I'm the strongest because maybe then when they'll see me and when they see you and nothing changes and your biggest fear is that I've already been there since all this conversation when I was 13, you're not good enough, you're fat, or you know what I mean? So all of that, which I thought that I dealt with, was surfaced because I was fired, literally, but not fired as I would prefer, I think, like when you have closure.
Yeah.
It's like it didn't work out or we don't have anybody for you this year. But to get a phone call to say you were amazing, we made a mistake, please come back, we loved your choreography. So in a different capacity, but come back. So it was so confusing for my just everything, my whole being that so when I got there, it was suffocating. It was really suffocating. And I was suffocating in silence because all of a sudden, all of my friends, they were looking at me like I had 3 heads. And then everybody was asking me, how are you doing this? I'm like, I'm great. I'm fine. I'm just working with the producers. I love this. And I did work with, instead of one celebrity, many celebrities. But it was just not it was not how I imagined that I would retire or
Right.
leave the biggest job that I've ever had, so to speak.
Right. And it wasn't fulfilling to you.
And it wasn't fulfilling.
You weren't living your truth, and that was weighing on you.
Yes, and that's how it first started. And years, and then I managed to stay in London because I met my partner, who's now my husband.
Mhm.
And but in the meantime, I'm creating. I'm thinking I'm creating. I'm gonna create, and I'm gonna show my pain, and I tell stories on stage. And it was thousands of people that would come. We have 84 shows, different cities. We're traveling, so I'm busy. On the surface, I'm busy, but my body's falling apart. So I'm thinking, what is going on? I go into emergency surgery. I didn't know that I had a size of a melon fibroid in my body.
Wow. You didn't feel anything, or
that's how crazy it's gotten, to a point that I've ignored so much.
Yeah.
It was about the dream, about the focus, about that association, and whatever that meant, that success that I imagined since I was little, that I completely ignored all the signs until I collapsed in the wings, and I've never not finished a show in my life.
Yeah.
And because that's not how I was brought up. You don't say anything. You just carry on.
That was your training.
Yeah. And so I ended up being at emergency surgery. And so they had to cut me open because it was too late, to a point. I know now, looking back, you're just like, what? You didn't have checkups. You didn't have this, and that for 2 years, I didn't. And within the 2 years of that pain that I think that I've been experiencing, psychological pain and, losing, that's another point that I want to make is when your life is, maybe you can, I'm sure you can relate from your fitness world, where you think that that's your tribe and that's your, like, there are your people. And all of a sudden you understand that the tribe has been assigned to you your whole life because you put yourself there, you had a dream. So, and then when something happened, all of a sudden the tribe is not there for you anymore. And your community that you thought it was your community or your people, they all of a sudden they vanished, they disappeared because it was so intertwined. Yeah. To a point that wasn't very healthy.
Right.
So fast forward the whole thing. So it was that kind of, because obviously my family's far away.
Yeah.
Everything that I love is at a long distance. So what do you rely? You have to rely on your friends, your loved ones. And so that kind of slowly vanishing and disappearing. And then the job disappeared. And that I'm trying to do my best job. So I got to prove them that they made a mistake, and I, putting my best foot forward on that stage. And then I said my body fell apart, like not knowing. So for 2 years, it kind of went from 0 to 100. And then as I'm going into surgery, I get a phone call from So You Think Can Dance, and like, we need you to be an all-star. And there's nobody else, blah, blah. We want you to choreograph and perform your choreography, which is the greatest opportunity on television for a dancer. I'm like prepping for surgery.
You're like, yeah, and totally, I'll be there.
Yeah, so I'm talking to the surgeon. He goes, we're cutting you open. It's like a C-section.
Yeah.
So he goes, it's like your muscles, everything. So he goes, 6 weeks. I'm like, no, I have to be there. In 4 weeks, I have to be on stage. He goes, I don't know. And I'm like,
4 weeks on stage performing, so you have to practice prior.
So it's because it's a reality television, so it's all in real timing in the sense of that it is 3 days with the contestant, and so you know what I mean. So it's very quick.
But you can't be like from bed to stage.
Yeah, but I did.
Of course.
And that was the biggest mistake, number 2. And so I get myself ready. I fly to LA. I get to the ABC studios, CBS studios, and I'm like, I can't move. Like one day, I pushed it, and my stomach just was swelled up so much that I just, and I talked to one of the producers. I said, Jeff, I can't. I had surgery. He was like, what? Like a keyhole? I said, oh no. Like I have, like the scar is this big. So I said, they cut me open. So anyways, and he goes, okay, well, don't come to the warm-ups. I said, okay, good. It's something. So I find this holistic, a friend of mine, she's my best friend. She finds me this holistic doctor, alternative medicine. And this woman, she does her little tinctures and just puts like some kind of cloth on my scar. Yeah. And I don't know, miraculously, it did the job.
What was that?
I have no idea, but it was all herbal things, and it was beautiful. And all I cared about that it like took all of my swelling down, and I looked better than ever on stage because obviously surgery and not eating and all of that, but obviously again how perception of the external versus internal, and so I did that. That was the biggest mistake. And then thinking, oh, I got this. And it went great. And went back to London doing another show. And my body's falling apart again. And I'm thinking, what am I doing wrong? I'm so tired of this. This is insane. I get an ulcerative colitis. Where it's, obviously I'm bleeding from places you shouldn't bleed. And then I have no energy. I can't perform 8 shows a night. 8 shows a week. And, but still I carry on.
Are either of these like genetic, or is it stress on the body? Is it lifestyle or just?
I think the pain was internalized, and that was the first time. So that was when I didn't have the tools. That's when I always say, if we talk about the body instinct, but I always say it's be, do, have. So it's never the opposite. It's like most people trying to have and do by doing and then trying to be. And that's what I was like having. So all these dreams ahead of me, and I was just a very tunnel vision without having any tools. Going from having a mentor from competitive world to not having any mentors and just driving my own career and just being very ambitious. Yeah. And not basically pressing the brake, but obviously something traumatic that really affected me. Not dealing with that, not talking to anybody, pretending that
holding
I'm okay.
It all internal.
Yeah, holding
on. That's one of the most important things is when you just you stay silent, you hold it inside, and it affects your body. Yeah. So
that's exactly
therapy, call your friends, loved ones, talk about it, and don't have any shame.
And it was, I don't know whether it was more about sustaining my lifestyle that I've used to, because as an artist, I have been fortunate to support myself and with all the opportunities, but that presented itself after I did television. But I think again, it was a lot of external factors that I was focused on, and it was nobody to really talk to me. And I know my husband tried, but it was very hard. If you're not ready to hear it. Yeah. So, and then when your body's screaming at you, and it wasn't even the final call. Yeah. So after that, you just go, okay, I need to slow down. And then so after ulcerative colitis, I just had to slow down and I had to.
You didn't have a choice at that point.
Yeah. And they've told me that I went to 5 different doctors, major doctors all over the world, really. And what was interesting is they told me that I'm going to be on steroids for the rest of my life. And none of them point me out to the fact that it could be the food. So it could be the stress. It could be something much deeper. And that was really interesting. So
yeah, I just had someone on the podcast and we were talking about how with doctors don't ever treat the mind and the body at the same time. Like, why do you have this going on in your body? What's going on in your mind? And it's just prescriptions, this, that, not lifestyle changes or seeing if there's allergies or foods.
Something's triggering. So it's a Band-Aid, right? Yeah. As opposed to really look into it. And I remember after thousands and thousands of dollars, my husband's went to this doctor with me and he said, but do you think it could be that, could be the diet that can be changed, something else? And she was like, absolutely not. And after that, he was like, that's it. You're never going back. You're never to her and you don't pay her a penny. And I'll figure it out. And he saved my life. He really did. He did a lot of research and I went completely changed. I didn't eat unhealthy. It was just my body was shutting down with all the stress, the physical stress, and then obviously the mental stress that I put up on myself. I never dealt with issues that My mom was like, when you were 17, you came to me and you wanted to do breast augmentation because you thought it would be. I suppressed that memory. I have no recollection to this day.
Yeah.
I think she's making it up, but I'm sure she is not. So it's just the things that suppress memory when you are stressed or in your mode. It's real, and all of these things do surface when your physical health falls apart. Just everything else just crumbling down.
All right. So how did he save you? What did he research?
So we figured out that with ulcerative colitis specifically, you can't have any uncooked food. So absolutely, even berries need to be steamed. So everything needs to be steamed. So I couldn't have anything that would go into my bloodstream. And I went on a keto diet. And again, it was I'm not promoting any diets, but it's one of those things that it did work. So no carbs, because carbs are the hardest to digest. So meat was easier, even though it's longer to digest. And I went on to take ketones. It was the powder that you take basically to sustain my energy, because I was on tour. I was working. I never stopped. And basically I did that for about 6 months. And I have never had, that was in 2015. So that's a long time ago. So I never had a flare up or anything. So I struggled for about 6 months, so to speak, but it never, knock on wood, had a flare up.
So now you're on your strict diet. You stick to it.
No, I never, no. Oh, no, sorry. So I eat very well because I believe in balanced diet. So I don't, think that meat is versus vegetables. So I think balance is great.
But can you eat uncooked food still? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no,
I eat absolutely normal food. Yeah. It's just I had to be very strict for 6 months. I took ketones, and 6 months felt like a very long time, because when you're sick, it's almost, you feel like it's a never ending journey. But then slowing down with, obviously I had to turn down some tours and some work. And I went home to London to just rest.
Yeah.
And basically just changed my diet for 6 months completely.
Was there anything else that you did in there to make sure that you were calming your body down, your mind?
Yes. But then when I was healing my physical body, certain things started to surface. And all of a sudden I started noticing that, why do I feel better physically, but then I feel so empty on the inside? And so I'm thinking, can I just not let go of what had happened to me, with that job? And then because it took me obviously to London. So that's when I turned to the best thing I've ever done, I think, for my well-being is to turn to meditation. And I decided to honor, because I've been doing yoga, but yoga again didn't, as an athlete, I've been trying to obviously stretch and keep up with different sorts of exercises, but yoga didn't feel quite right when I would get on the mat.
Yeah.
I needed to understand more. And so when I did that's really kind of helped me to center my mind.
Yeah.
And I think what it helped me to do by coming back to dance, because dance became a job. And I think because I was so wrapped up in this identity of a dancer that I didn't know anything else. I didn't know myself. So stepping away from it, it just gave me an opportunity to find out who I am, what I like.
Yeah. Did you stop or start resenting dance at any point?
Absolutely.
Because it became a job?
Yeah, I know. When it became a job. I knew that my mental health was in trouble when I was doing this big show. It was a huge production in the UK, and we traveled to the West End and all over London, all over UK, and they announcing this huge big stairs, and they saying from Strictly Come Dancing, like my partner Robin Windsor and Anya Garnis, and I'm going down those stairs, and everybody is like backup dancers like clapping for you, thousands of people watching you, and I'm walking down those stairs, and I remembered this thought so clearly. Did I take out the garbage tonight?
So you were not present.
And or I was so done.
Done. You just weren't interested. Yeah.
No, there was no adrenaline. There was no adrenaline. There was no joy. There was no, I didn't know, but it was that one switch. Did I take out the garbage? Or I left it in the apartment. And I felt like at that moment, so simple, it was an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
And it was just like dance was here.
Yeah.
And I was here. And my mental health was like, oh, what's happening to you? And I didn't talk to anybody really.
So where do you go from there?
Yeah, where do you go? So then that thought becomes, oh, I hate everything about dance. I'm not envy, but very close to the people that are doing whatever they're doing. I'm doing it for the money, which as an artist, you never do it for the money.
Right.
You always do it for the joy. And then it just starts spiraling down. And from that moment on, you just being not kind to yourself, and you have nobody to talk to because everybody thinks.
Like, what do you have to complain about?
What do you have to complain about? Look at your career. Look how much you've done in your life.
Yeah.
You've traveled the world. You're still producing shows. You're fine. You're absolutely fine. And that's, I think, the hardest part that I think my husband is just saying, like, why you don't want to talk about it? Why do you don't want to help people about even your ulcerative colitis? And I said, because I wasn't allowed to complain when I wasn't allowed to say that I was not feeling well or that I have bad thoughts. And that especially surfaced after I had a baby, which is very common, right? Something, but it was happening before. It was happening. Like I felt the darkness was coming in, but in the midst of all the things, discovering the breath in a different way this time, in a way that served me, not what's going to make me better to get that job or to look a certain way, but to make me feel a certain way, and to understand that it's okay to feel the feelings, but it's okay to let go of the story. Right. So that's what I've been working on for a long time. Just don't suppress the feelings. Just let go of the story. The story doesn't matter because it's with time we tend to spin the story out of control. But I think it's the allowing the feelings to come up and to really understand. And it was hard. It was not an easy journey to do it on your own. But in a way, like everything else, came to me in a way I'm glad I did it, because I was my own student and my own teacher at the same time.
So you got into yoga and meditation. Did you fall in love with dance again?
Yes. Dance is my savior. I always say that, but it's I did, but in a different capacity, in a healthier way. Yeah. So that's how the body instinct that I come up for myself. I came up with this. It's a holistic way to find your life force again. Yeah. And that's what I needed to do. I needed to allow myself to expand, allow myself to evolve, and to look at it from a brighter side, and not to be a victim of which was very hard to let go. But at the same time, to understand it was never about me. It was something that didn't match the energy. The energy didn't match, but I've done what I could have done. I did my best, and I'm very proud of it. And then fast forward, I am looking at myself, and I'm thinking how to be, as opposed to what to do next. And
I feel like I can relate to you with a lot of the story, because I rebelled against fitness. That's like went to the top of fitness dream when I was a little girl. I was like, I want to grow up and do what my mom would work out to Jane Fonda DVDs. Worked with Jane Fonda and did all the things, and #1 fitness community, tone it up. And then you get to that point of like, you go. Mm-hmm. And then, it happened, that same exactly what you described happens. And then there's that rebellion. That's why I asked you that question. But then now I had to take some time and think about, because fitness was what saved me.
Yeah.
When
isn't it It's kind of, yeah, I call it, it's a vicious circle. So
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those things that some people go in a spiral and they're like, I did this and I did this, da, da, da. And for me, it was like, oh my gosh. And then I dance as a job. What do I do now? Or fitness is a job now. So what do I do now?
Fitness used to be for fun and healing for me and
Mhm.
this. And then it did become a job where I stopped enjoying it and going on set or doing, I wasn't looking forward to it. So I did have to step back a little, even with, we have our new Tone It Up January challenge coming out.
Mhm.
And I'm learning to love fitness again, and how I want to feel it in my body. And like this morning, I did like meditation, I call it like meditative movement, kind of
Mhm.
mixed with yoga in front of the
Right.
fireplace. And it felt so good. And afterwards, I just felt so great. But for the January challenge, it's the first one with Tone Up that I'm not actually teaching workouts.
Oh, wow.
So community, if you're listening, bear with me here. But I want to have a bigger voice of community, talking with our trainers, sharing our stories. And I'm
Wow.
working out again and I'm loving fitness again, but I want to love it for me.
For you, not, yeah, for what it represented to, a long time ago. And we change, we evolve. And I just think it's absolutely okay. It's just we putting so much pressure on ourselves. And it's almost, I don't know, obviously you've achieved so much and you've accomplished so much. So it's like, I'm sure a lot of people will say the same thing, what do you have to complain about in the sense of, look what you've built, the empire of, of,
And I still create the workouts and do this and pick the trainers and have relationships. It's just, I'm taking a little shift right now and that's okay.
and that's okay.
And, being the face and,
But I'm glad that, see, it's okay. When we make this decision ourselves, I think it's so important it's almost like honoring that. It's honoring that. It's taking that into your own hands and you just go, this is what I need. And I want to feel this is what I need. I'm just going to follow through with that. And for me, it's the same thing. Something was taken away from me. So I felt like if I would have stepped away on my own, or had a better closure or better way how to be like, this is it. No more. The door is closed. It's fine.
Yeah.
I would probably prefer that. But it's that gray territory and it just felt like maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe it's still there. Maybe it's not. And then, so to navigate that on your own without any tools, without any support, I think that's what becomes the hardest. And we put so much pressure on ourselves, which is so unnecessary.
Right. This is your life. In the end.
Yeah. In the end, in the end, it's your life. And I think we do have to prioritize. I mean, dance is a huge part of my life. So I kind of stopped saying that I am a dancer. So I used to say, oh, I'm a dancer. I'm a professional dancer, but I don't say this anymore. So I say I dance professionally. And I'm a mother. I'm a teacher. I'm an actor, but I'm always going to be a student. So, yeah.
Let's talk about body instinct some more. So what exactly is that? What do you do?
Well, the body instinct, well, again, it came out of pain and then out of experience, the big baggage, the luggage of the experience that I have behind me. And it came from just working with a lot of women at that time. Remember about 18 years ago when I was teaching in Manhattan, in New York, and I was watching all these ladies because, obviously Latin ballroom dancing was so popular. Like ladies come in, or men, I taught a lot of men, and just in general, and we would have those checklists, like bullet points of social dancing when you kind of see where they at. And I would look at them and they look amazing. And then they would come to my class and it was only ladies class and they literally wouldn't be able to move. So the first week I thought, oh, I don't know, maybe it's a bad week. Second week I thought maybe the steps are too hard. Third week I just stopped everything and I said, okay, this is it. What's going on? We're wasting each other's time. You guys, I've seen you at social dancing. I've seen you, what you can do. And plus it's not a cheap hobby. You know what I mean? So I was like, you better tell me what's going on. And one of the ladies, Terry Walsh, Elaine Walsh, she said to me, she was about 70, and she said, yeah, but we're just following. We're following. And that's why we look good. And that was an aha moment for me at that time. So I just thought, wow, I never thought about it like that. That of course, especially in this type of dance, in this career, of course I have to follow. But it doesn't mean I have to give my power away. And I don't know what I'm doing with my body, how to move my body when I'm on my own. But that was not the way dance was perceived. That was not the way they were taught. That was like the information just didn't exist. And fast forward, if you're, what was I going to say, 15 years later, after all of my experiences, I just thought, and after I healed myself, after I studied yoga and Tai Chi and breathing, I just thought there's something to it. So the body instinct, in short, is a combination of different modalities where we learn how to reignite a fire, our energy, and how to find a life force. Because I think, in short, this is what it's all about. I do believe in energy. I think we need to be responsible with what we bring in the room, and also I do believe that with intentional energy versus freestyle, we can heal ourselves, because we're so stuck with our emotions and our bodies. So, and if we're not comfortable in our bodies now, then when are we comfortable?
Yeah.
So, and most of the time, what I'm facing is that when people come to my classes, I have to kind of surprise them with an idea of dance, because they don't know, especially recently, they don't know that they're going to dance. Because if they would know, they probably wouldn't have they wouldn't show up.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
How it is, we're so in our heads about movement and how to own a voice. So the body instinct is giving you tools, and then you obviously, after that, when you know what to do, you know what you'll have. But most of the people is doing completely the opposite. They try to have by doing, hoping that they'd be. And I think that the motto of the body instinct is called it: see it, know it, feel it, and be it. So there are certain steps that when we break it, it's a fun. Of course, I'm using the Latin dance because it's popular, it's known, and it's fun. But there are also other things that we can move our energy. And so I predominantly work with women one-on-one, and I've seen a lot of breakthroughs in a sense of most of the time they cry in my sessions, because there's a lot of emotions that move through when we allow ourselves to breathe, when we allow ourselves to move and listen. And because I always talk about softness, including myself, what I've learned when I was on the go, is I became so hard and so much into my male energy that we have to.
Yeah.
We have to. On daily basis, I'm sure you have to step into your male energy. And I'm not talking about, obviously, it's just the spiritual male energy or female energy. And so, so I just feel that we always balance this out. And it's so hard to understand the balance. Yeah. And because it was exhausting to me to drive to trying to achieve. And this is the women that I meet sometimes. And when we're trying to balance, and we try to meet the feminine, because it's okay to relax and to soften.
Yeah.
And so I always say, don't try to do, just be and feel. And
But I think that's the magic of dance too, because sometimes I will just, even if Bobby's not home, if I wake up and I am anxious, I'll turn on some music and go in the backyard and I'll just freestyle. And then you're like, you can't, when you dance, because it's not a job, the freedom of moving your body like that and shaking it out and being free it's great for your mental health.
It's great for your mental health. It's allowing you to, it's very hard for me to meditate, just to sit down and meditate. So what I've learned is that I need to move my energy first before I sit down and before I clear it before. So it's very intentional. So, and I think when we put intention to the movement, that's how we can progress, and that's how we can clear it. That's how we can get better. And I think eventually heal, because that's what helped me with my mental health.
Yeah.
And back to your story, I think just really quickly, I don't know why, who needs to hear this? But about you kind of rebelling against fitness. When I was studying yoga, the first story that they said, and I don't know if you've ever heard that, it's called the story of the raft. I don't know if you know it.
I don't know.
No?
I don't think so.
So it's like a traditional Buddhist story about a man who traveled the lands to find holy lands. And he's been traveling for years, and he's walking along a very wide river. And he is on his side, the path is rocky and dangerous, and it just kind of basically makes it very hard to walk. So he looks at the other side of the river, and he sees that the path and the walk looks almost like sand, very smooth. And he thinks, oh, I need to get to that side of the river, but I don't know how. I don't have any equipment. So he meditates, and what comes to him is he needs to build a raft, and from branches and mud. And he's been doing this for building it for days, because he has to let the sun dry the mud and whatever, etc. Then he built this beautiful raft, and then he gets on it, and he gets to the other side of the river. And as he gets out, he was like, wow, it is much smoother, and the path is going to be much lighter. And then he turns around and he says, but I can't leave the raft behind, because it's been so helpful to me, and I put so much effort into this raft. And I just sat there and I was like, okay. And the teaching in the story is that even a good thing, a great thing that served you so well for so long, can become an unnecessary burden, because he's been walking with a raft he wouldn't let go. So it almost became even harder to walk on the surface, where it was just like he wanted to walk, and he could run, but because he was carrying the raft, he couldn't walk. So it slowed him down even more when he was on the other side. So the bottom line is, when something's great worked for us, but when it did its thing and it doesn't serve us anymore, we need to let go. And because otherwise it's going to weigh us down. So, and I thought it was great, because that's when you said, when dance became a job, said, how did you feel about it? So that's exactly how I felt. I just, when I heard that story, I just thought, oh my gosh, it's my raft. It served me so well.
Can you put the raft down when you're ready to pick it up again?
Yeah, but do so with
one.
but you cannot, not with condemnation. You have to do it with gratitude. So, but that was an aha moment for me. I just thought, I'm putting it down. And that's where, what you asked me about the body instinct. And it's like, that's when I went, I am so grateful for my dance. I'm so grateful for my body and what it allowed me to do and allows me to do, because I'm still dancing and I still perform. And I did one of the biggest shows 5 months postpartum, so in London. So it's not like, life is not over. So I'm still performing, I'm still an artist. But instead of just kind of like, oh, I'm this and I'm this and I'm this and I'm that, it allowed me, by putting that raft down, it just allowed me to just put everything kind of under one hat, and just say, I'm an artist. And if I'm teaching, then I will teach. And if I'm, dancing, then I will perform and I dance. And then if I'm a mom, then this is what I am. So, but it's not so, it's much better for my mental health, as opposed to just think that I have to wear this hat and this hat and this hat and this hat. So it just almost, again, it's not what we do, it's the way we do it.
Yeah, I think what really helped me to, as I'm transitioning through my fitness career and bringing in, meditation and training under Deepak and going, doing yoga certification, something I had to bring the mindfulness to the fitness. And why am I moving your body? Not for the aesthetic, but how does that make you feel? And that was really important to me. And still, I do teach, but I like to include mindfulness and meditation and intention, not just doing a squat and having a six-pack abs. So it's with intention.
Exactly. I feel like if it's done with intention, and it's not like a squat is not, doesn't have an intention, but I just think that in days with everything, with all the information, we just can do so much more for our body and with the knowledge that we have around us. And if we can utilize fitness with mindfulness or dance with mindfulness and to take the tools, and actually, I think what's important is, I think what I love about even fitness community is, and about dance, is that I would love to educate. Like, I had a student who went for 4 years, she went into yoga school, and she was, I'm not joking, she was like here and she couldn't touch her toes. The fact that she wasn't flexible is not an issue. It's an issue if you go to yoga studio 3 times a week and 4 years later you don't move your body. It's you holding on to something. You have no idea. And so I am very passionate about educating about your body, how to release, how to move, how to let go. And I think a lot of the times with the social media and everything, it's very surfaced. And we're just doing quick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's what I am trying to find the balance in me internally, because I'm more about the process and the journey. And I really want to help you to touch your toes, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, so where can we find more information on Body Instinct?
Oh, just on it's the website, thebodyinstinct.com. Yeah, on my Instagram. Yeah. Anya Garnis.
And we'll put all the info in the show notes. And speaking of dancing, next we are about to go in the house and film a little dance. And Bobby is going to join us.
I know. I'm so excited.
I know. Just a little dance. This is coming out right before New Year's, so you can watch this and maybe learn something to move your body and have fun. And it'll be good.
Yeah.
Bobby's excited.
And yes, and I think, fitness and dance, I think some people can overlook. I mean, I'm not bypassing. I am very excited to dance with Bobby and Karena later on. But I just wanted to say that how important it is to take the time for our physical and mental well-being. And just it's a sometimes I know it can get really, really hard, but it's a choice that we can make, even if it's just 30% that day. 30%, because for me, consistency over 100% for me all the time. So it's better to do 70, 60%, even 20% that day, to acknowledge yourself. To even just do this, something just with your body, to acknowledge your state of mind.
Yeah.
Then just let another day go by and just feel like you just stuck. I don't know who needs to hear it, but just felt like
a lot
saying
of us.
it. Yes.
Wisdom from Anya.
But now it's time to dance.
All right. Thank you. And we will be posting this dance video on social media and YouTube, and we will put the link in the show notes as well.
Awesome. Thank you
so
much.
Thank you.
The big silence. The big silence.